Man, 3 days off, Mark. I'm tired.
Right?
Because I've been doing stuff nonstop with all this. I mean, I have played and read books and stuff like that, but I was doing all the audition shit and like a bunch of errands all over the place. And
Oh, I will tell you this. I just finished chapter 11.
you still have never sent me, I don't think, excerpt from your book.
Oh. I'll have to shoot you.
You just have your little YouTube thing, but I can only listen to so much of you going on waxing on elves.
Hey, elves are my favorite.
I know, but it's different if I'm reading a book as opposed to you just talking about elves, man. Because I know you're particular in your brain, but sometimes when you start talking, you lose tangents often.
Oh well.
But anyway, okay, so you guys, we're almost ready for that short, huh? You just need to make up hair.
Yeah. All right, we're in. We're live.
Okay. Hold on, let me share it. Hold on, people. All right. Here you go. Watch parties there. Let me turn this down. All right, guys. Hey, guys. Oh my God, I can't even peel Lola away from her ear snout. I mean, pig snout, dude. I normally have Lola here with us to intro the show, but she got a new pig snout and she cannot leave it alone, chowing in her own private moments over there. So I'll bring her over in a little while. But thanks again, you guys, for coming up and checking out StormCrow, Dreamers Talking to Dreamers, episode 21. Yes, you heard it right, 21 episodes with, of course, my co-host, Mark Potter, and then normally Lola, who's not, who's not to be seen right now because she's chowing. Mark has had to take a break from his lightsaber acrobatics. He hurt his back doing a quadruple swinging multi-enemy strike. And even though he defeated his enemies, he fell badly and hurt his back. So
that's in the another universe. No, that's doing spring cleaning.
Hey, like I said, man, spring cleaning, multi-swinging, acrobatic lightsaber shot against enemies. It's the same thing, man. Anyway, and tell Alex it's the same thing. And pretty soon we're going to putting a bow on that hair, man.
Nope.
Yep. We're going to tie it back in a little bow. I'm sorry, we're getting distracted, you guys. Anyway, sorry, this is what happens when you've done 21 episodes. You start getting a little goofy. We are taking next week off. I think me and Mark both need it because we're in the middle of producing and shooting my 14th short film on the 19th. So that's going to be very cool. But let's get it going. We have some amazing guests tonight. Some wondrous guests, very talented guests who have big dreams. So who would you like to bring in first?
Let's bring in Amanda Kallander.
All right. Well, Amanda's a very highly talented writer, producer, actress, model. She does a lot, has her hands in a lot of different things, and she's been pursuing that art for a long time. Highly skilled. Let's bring in Amanda. Hey, Amanda.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good. I just tried to throw the big fat intro for you.
Thanks.
You're welcome. And let's bring in our other guest. It's a young actor, up and coming, and he's got a big background in stunts. So if you need a stunt guy, get. But he has aspirations in acting as well, and we'll be talking to him. Bring in Mason. What's up, Mason?
Hello.
Hey.
Hello. How are you guys?
Wait, you know what? I wish Facebook did a better way of inviting people to watch parties than having a single person, man. This is a but anyway, there you go. Hey, so let's get back into it and get some questions asked. Amanda, what is a project that you've done in the last 2 or 3 years that you're part about, a lot of love with and passion?
Well, the last 2 or 3 years, I have been working on a project called Replicant Terminus, which is an indie feature, and now we've just dived into the episodic version called Replicant Terminus Revelation.
So wait, you already shot a feature?
Yeah, we do. It's in edits right now. It's almost done. So
it's in post. So you shot a feature that's in post.
Mm-hmm.
People at home that don't understand that, so the process of feature usually is you have a pre-production where you organize stuff, hire people, make sure the budget fits on everything, break down the script, and then you have production, which is shooting the film, because we can't expect all of our audience to be familiar with all the terms. So
yeah,
the back part is post-production, where they're doing whatever, depending on the kind of film, they're adding sound effects, they're adding special effects, they're cutting all the different stuff you shot and putting it together in a nice, hopefully beautiful thematic format. But anyway, okay, so what's the genre and theme of that project?
it is a sci-fi themed project. It would be, I would say, a cross between Star Wars and Blade Runner.
Did you just say, you can't say Star Wars around Mark, man?
What?
I mean, dude, he gets, you know, I don't know what you would say. It's like a bunch of Jawas, like finding out some broken machinery in the desert, and he gets all like amped out when you say Star Wars.
Star Wars has
Okay, but anyway, back to it's a cross between Star Wars and what was the second example? I'm sorry, I was thrown off when you said Star Wars, waiting for the frenzy to like blow up, but his back's hurting right now. So anyway, Star Wars and what was the second part?
and Blade Runner.
Wow, that's very cool. Because my feature is a cross between Sin City and Blade Runner, so we have similar tastes.
Yeah. Well,
So,
Philip K. Dick wrote the book "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?" And the brilliant thing about that man writing that book is that he purposely did not copyright that idea. He wanted people that have imaginations like us, filmmakers, to make our own versions, to make our own worlds of that book. So he left it open for that opportunity.
I did watch that series they recently wrote off of one of his novels that had Elijah Wood in it.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? It's he's got kind of that similar to Douglas Adams kind of humor, I think.
Yeah.
Hiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but maybe a little more avant-garde or something like that. But yeah, what was the name of that? Mark, what was the name of that show where like the something detective, the super spiritual whatever detective with TV show with Elijah Wood and existential detective or whatever?
I have never seen that show.
Oh my God, it's a TV series and it's really, really good. They did 2 seasons recently, and then it didn't get picked. I understand, but yeah, no, Philip Dick is an interesting writer, great creative.
Mm-hmm.
Are you the originator of this whole idea, or you just jumped on board as a producer?
So when the feature came out, Replicant Terminus, I was a line producer on there. I jumped on as
Wow, that's a hefty weight.
Yeah. I jumped on. I was an actress. I had a role in that, but I also had previous experience with coordinating and managing other facets of the world. So I jumped in as a line producer. And
all right, let's give another lesson though, real quick, to fans at home. Line producer is the person that manages the budget and the money and make sure that everything stays on time and on budget. It is a hefty job, especially in the indie world. When you're in like big studios or TV, they have a crap ton of assistants and people that work under them that can help them. But in indie film, it's like one, maybe two people at most, like really having to do for the whole film. So a hefty job. But anyway, Amanda, go ahead.
Yeah, so, and you also help coordinate the different departments, making sure everyone's working together. So that's what I love doing, is I love coordinating. So it was really fun. And on the TV episodic series, I jumped in as an executive producer, investing not only my time, money, and efforts and resources, but just trying to market this product as
Very
best as I
beautiful.
can.
If I can help in any way, let us know.
Thank you.
But that's awesome. That's awesome. I would love to, if you have samples or whatever, or wait, when you get samples or trailers from the feature, you said that's in post, so that'll probably be done fairly soon, next few months or so. Give it to us, and we'll throw it on in the beginning or the end of a few episodes.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, so people can check it out. But very cool. Mason, so what is a project in the last couple of years you had an intense hunger for and were content with what happened?
Oh, well, I've actually done, as I said, I've actually mentioned a little earlier, I'm currently on, back in March, I just finished my 10th show in 2 years. I mostly do theater. That's where most of my experience is, but I am definitely trying to break into more film. Done a couple.
It's a great background, man. It's a great background. I mean, if you take theater seriously and you actually learn all the nuances, especially when you're dealing with a lot of times plays that have old English or different, like, or more poetic. It teaches you a tremendous amount of skills, from learning to articulate and to say almost any kind of word and have it convey with emotion. So it widens your vocabulary tremendously, which is good for an actor. But you have visceral response. If you suck, there's 5 feet in front of you that's gonna like let you know you're sucking.
Oh yeah, very much so.
Quick. It's a quick learner thing. If you don't want to suck and don't want Mr. Smith in the front row looking at you like that, then you become better really quick.
Definitely. But I have to say that the 2 shows that out of the 10 that I had the most fun with, I did a not necessarily a modernized version, but we did Dial M for Murder, and I played a character. I played Captain Lesgate, which in the movie, I mean, you know, the old Alfred Hitchcock movie, the actors were quite a bit older. And our director for this one, he actually set it instead of the 40s, he actually dated it in more of the 60s and 70s era, which was actually really cool. And I remember the guy that played my Tony was very, very interesting. He played a very how do I put this? A very feminine version of Tony, but in a very creepy way. And we had amazing reviews. That was the first. I've always wanted to do fight choreography, and it's always been a giant passion of mine. I've been doing martial arts since I was a little kid. I taught boxing and MMA for 2 years at LA Boxing before UFC Gym bought it. And there's obviously, if anyone's familiar with Dial M for Murder, there is a very heavy attack scene from Captain Lesgate on the woman character, and my director had actually asked me to choreograph it. Although it was very interesting because in the movie version, it's a very quick strangulation scene, and he really wanted to make it very, very real, and he really wanted to speak out with the whole Me Too campaign for women who have been assaulted and raped and stuff like that. So he wanted a very, very creepy and very very brutal, like, in all honesty, a very brutal attempted rape scene as well, a rape and murder scene. And it was very, very new to me. I've done, I did fight scenes and stuff like that in plays before, but never one that I had actually choreographed, and never one that I actually had to play a character where I was going to even, had to get into that mindset of what I would possibly do and, attacking a woman. And God bless her heart. My fellow actress, she had apparently done a rape scene in a show before, and like, so I came in on this.
Well, you guys, you don't have to dance around it. It's an okay thing, man. Usually storytellers are telling heavy things, whether it be intense love situations with families or dark nightmares that they had, that they're reflecting the real world. You know what I mean? That's what they're doing. So I wouldn't feel challenged or worried about dancing around that subject, even with the Me Too movement, unless you're trying to like offer roles for Rudy.
Yeah, I get that on that.
Maybe I rethink that in today's climate, but
I mean, I was very
cool, man. It's a great experience. It puts up your chops. A lot of the best actors out there gain more recognition when they finally played their first heavy, well-written, darker role than they would playing love, romance, all those kind of. Even comedians got a lot of chops. So most of the bigger comedians will go out and throw a serious movie out to get more chops. So that's cool, man.
Well, it was fun because
play Mason in a second, but we're gonna dance back to current, and then when I get to current with you, we'll get on what you're dealing with in the stunts. But Amanda, how was the TV series? We focused a little more on the film. How was the TV series of this show rolling, and how's it going? And is that where you're heading right now, or you were location scouting me?
Yeah, I was. I did a little location scouting, excuse me, and I picked up some props. I love shopping these older towns, antique stores for props. They have the best stuff. But yeah, so Replicant Terminus Revelations is an adapted storyline of the feature. So we called it Revelations because it explains what's happening. Ideally, how we developed it was 6 episodes are a prequel and 6 are a sequel to the feature. So you have an explanation and backstory of what's going on and more in depth, and then you have what happens later after the feature and the other 6. That's still kind of up in the air right now as far as what we want to do with it, but that was kind of the plan. So we're still writing the episodes, and we're filming as we have a completed episode. We start filming it. So we just started first shot
10 episode or
back in March. So
10 episode plan, or what's the total plan?
12 episodes, about 45 minutes long.
So like a half a season.
Correct. Yeah.
Well, unless you're doing Game of Thrones, then it's like 2 seasons.
Yeah, 12 episodes.
Like an hour and a half long.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I tell people it's a Star Wars mix with Blade Runner is because Blade Runner, weren't really offered a lot of in-depth exploration into the world around these characters that we follow. But in Star Wars,
just by set day was the only thing you got.
Yeah, and in Star Wars, you were offered a glimpse into the different planets, the different people groups, the people groups of each planet that live there. So you kind of had a more, and the food they ate and how they acted and dressed. And so our series is more of what would Blade Runner be like if we had more people groups, Martian colonists, or aside from the Blade Runners and replicants, what else is going on in this world? So we hope to bring more of that.
Also, it's a little more. I mean, Blade Runner is a little more gravitas though, and dark.
Yes, it is, and it's a dark world because
it's more sparse for a reason. It's sparse, I think, to kind of make that more somber, constant, somber, heavy mood. Which silence is usually the best way to do those kind of things, So
yeah.
As opposed to Star Wars, you're building a franchise. You're like going, we're big against the Empire. They both have brilliant. I love both movies, and so I look forward to seeing the episodics. Your episodics though probably be when is your first release plan?
We don't have all that information yet because we're working with some investors, and so we're kind of just trucking along with what we've got right now with episodes. So I can't really give you any information when it'll be done or when we're expected to
Well, your feature though will be out, right?
Yeah, that'll be wrapped up in June, and we hope to have a mini premiere for cast, crew, and family, hopefully end of June or beginning of July. So we're really excited about that.
You gonna hit festivals with that?
I did check out Sundance Festival to see if that was an area we wanted to go into. We're not too sure yet. We do have other people interested in what we have, so we want to get more of it packaged together before we.
It's a good idea. Have it planned and organized and all. It's a good idea.
Mhm.
Back though, we can hit the more on that when I talk about futures, the project.
Mhm.
And, currently, now I know you're doing some kind of stunt class, right, or specific skill based stunt.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things I always do is I've been doing it for about 10 years. I work on the Queen Mary's Dark Harbor. Queen Mary out in California. Everyone who, for little history lesson, the Queen Mary is an old docked World War II ship.
I've been there a couple times. Queen Mary, yeah.
Yeah. Well, every Halloween they have Dark Harbor, which is their big Halloween event that runs basically from end of September till about early November. I've been there for about 10 years, and about 5 years ago, I became one of the slider monsters. Which, if any of you have ever been to Knott's Berry Farm or pretty much any major haunt, the monsters that have like the knee pads, the steel gloves, and steel boots, they come sliding around. On the floor, they make sparks and stuff. They come out of nowhere, pretty much. That's what I do. I've been a part of the Queen Mary Sliders for about 5 years now, and yeah, every during the summer we have our boot camp because it's a very physically demanding thing. It's a lot of stunts.
I can imagine, but it's probably a great base to be able to do stunts.
Oh yeah, very.
Not only the skills you're learning, but also asking your body to do. You're asking the physical, the muscles you're going to use to create basically falling.
Very much so. And in all honesty, teaches very good reflexes, very good coordination. I mean, sliding around like where thousands of people are around, like you can't touch the people, so you got to be able to find little holes and stuff like that to slide past people and not tackle somebody on the way.
No, I hear you, man. That's very beautiful, man. Hey, and dude, when I get to my features, I'll hit you up, bro, because most of my features are all actions.
I love it. Love it.
Opposite of my shorts, but my features are all like blood is sci-fi, horror.
Tends to be what I write.
They're all like action-oriented stuff. And you're friends with Josh, right, Mitchell?
Josh Mitchell, yeah. I've worked with him on a couple of his movies, yeah.
Yeah, I did his movies too, man. He's a good friend of mine. He was one of the me and him met before even on Facebook before I even moved to LA, which was like 2009. He arrived in LA a couple months before me, or vice versa. But we knew each other before that, and he was pursuing the publicist stuff in LA and his films, and I was pursuing background and stand-in while I was doing directing and shooting my films. So we kind of helped out a lot.
Yeah, his I did a background thing in his movie Wine Tasting, and then actually his movie A Hard Visit was actually where I actually had my first big time. It was very quick, but my first fight choreography was in that movie. I was so excited too. I showed it off to all my friends too. But he hit me up. He hit me up and said that he wanted to film this movie and that he needed some people to be, some guys that get roughed up a little bit, who haven't, paid their debts and everything. And it was so funny because when I got on set with him, he was looking at all the other people, and some of these guys were a little bit smaller and everything, and I was about the main character's size. The guy was supposed to be roughing me up, and it was so funny because we were both bald headed at the time, and he's like, Mason, he goes, you look a bit more tough than a lot of these guys. He goes, I think it'd be a good idea if we had you as somebody who was trying to resist the aggressor. So it was really quick too. We came up with this really quick, very brutal fight scene in his garage, in the garage down.
Dodge, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if he's learned to go in. Did he cheat the camera and go in tight when you guys were doing that?
Oh yeah. and it was so cool. I mean, the fight was so much fun to film, and I think it was like, and I love it because like how I've been doing a lot of stunts, and I remember the first time because there's one really good, like the guy looks like he hits me right in the stomach and then flips me over his shoulder, and I was actually showing them how to how you flip somebody over the shoulder. And first time we did it, it looked like, I'm sure from Josh's perspective because he kind of freaked out a little bit. But the first time the guy flipped me on, on his shoulder and onto the cement, and then he gets on top of me and he's got a taser. After they were done, he's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." He's like, "Let's do it again." I was like, "Let's do it again. Let's keep going." And we did it
Man,
probably like
dude, I would never do all that.
7 or 8.
Even when I was young, are you kidding me? I wouldn't do that kind of stuff. But you gotta, yeah, some people gotta be kind of nuts, man.
I just draw the line at height.
Nuts of all time. If you're a talented actor, you got to be nuts in a different way. You're gonna be a talented filmmaker, writer, director. That's just nuts in a different angle. You know what I mean? Pretty good at what they do. They have to see things and view things in an off way. You know what I mean? So the original way, I guess, would be another way of saying it.
So if you're an actor and a writer, you're nuts all around, right?
Exactly. And as I wanted to pursue a career in stunts, but I will admit the one thing that keeps me from it is everyone calls it my kryptonite, heights.
Yeah, I don't do it.
Yeah, that's the only thing that stopped me from pursuing a full-time career in stunts is like, I was like, oh man.
There's a lot of fight stuff you can do, but it doesn't require that.
That's true. That's very true. But
yeah, I mean, but that's how I would shoot action. Is I like that going in tonight, kinetic, with just every once in a while, like an overhead or a little bit wider, but keeping the fight because it makes it more kinetic, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Matrix, giant wides with a bunch of wires making everybody fly all over the place. You know what I mean? It's I think that kinetic, if it's done right with shots, that movement in, whether you're going POV or you're down low, like tight, or occasional do a bird's eye cut.
And I personally think that the more I like the Matrix. I love martial arts movies and stuff like that, big fight scenes. But I personally think that some of the most brutal fight scenes are the ones that are a bit more a bit more grindy, more close in, and a little bit more berserk. I like some of the flashy stuff like the Matrix and stuff like that. It's fun and it's really cool to watch.
They're copying the old kung fu movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, basically.
The old martial art kung fu theater ones. They're always in wides. So you can see Tiger Claw and all that stuff. You know what I mean? So and then all the pageantry and the big giant movements and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I grew up on that stuff, man. And my favorite day of the week was Saturday with Vincent Price's Horror Theater, followed by Kung Fu Theater. That was like my dream Saturday every Saturday. But anyway, okay. So Amanda, on your future projects. And then I'll come right back with Mason on your future upcoming stuff. Amanda, besides the film, TV series, what is your plans other than that going into the future?
Well, I do love being on front of the camera just as much as I love being behind the camera. So I do have a couple of acting projects in the lineup for the future when pre-production's probably already starting soon. But I do play FBI agent, special agent Amanda Williams in the new Vice Squad series that's going to be coming up. I'm not sure where it's going to be at exactly yet, but it's a pretty big deal, and it's going to be in multiple cities. And the general theme of the show is sex trafficking stories, crime stories. So very great writing, very great actor, and
I mean, so is this something your production is shooting? Not backed by a studio yet, and they're not sure whether they want to go web or. You're going to shoot
when I say I'm not sure, it's more of I'm not part of the creative team on this. I'm just acting on this one, but I do help promote it as well. All that stuff has to do with what they're deciding, what their decisions are. I just don't know yet. So.
I mean, but are they planning on just at first just shooting a pilot?
No, they're planning on filming a full first series in 5 cities simultaneously. So,
Wow. So a pretty big budget.
yeah.
Lola refuses to give this thing up, man. Are you like literally? No, Lola, you're going mad with the pig snout. But anyway, go ahead, Amanda.
Well, I wanted to answer a question you had mentioned earlier about RT. I'm so sorry I didn't answer that question earlier. The creator of this Replicant Terminus content is by Gregory Coots and Mylan Productions, and it's a great company. We have another executive producer, Samantha Simmons, and she's awesome. She's done so much for this project. So he's the creator, and he kind of casts the vision for everything, and we kind of help him put it into fruition with production and casting.
Well,
and
it's
everything.
very beautiful of you all for him to believe in, have faith in the project. I mean, it's always a beginning of getting anything done in this industry is first have more than you believe in it. So that's beautiful, and then you just got to find money, and then then you're. But but that doesn't happen unless you have people that you're. How'd that happen? Oh, people that believe in you, helping you. You know what I mean? Sorry, my window got minimized all of a sudden. I'm like, whoa. But yeah, I mean, it all starts with faith and belief, and people, other than the creator, believing in it because it's a film and team sport. You know what I mean? So there's no one person doing everything. It doesn't happen that way. So it's very awesome.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I'm allowed to talk about right now, but I do know that we do have some stuff developing. So it's not just another indie project. It's going to be.
I hear it. Nothing. So. If it's well done, it doesn't matter whether it was done indie or not. It'll be more if you do it right.
Well, what I'm trying to say though is that I can't talk about it, but essentially we do have some interest in it, and it looks very promising. So
we're very cool. Well, as I said, if I can help at all, just let me know.
Awesome.
But that's very beautiful. I'm happy for you. Now, Jason, what are the big goals upcoming in the future here for you?
Well, as I said, for me, I'm currently taking a small acting hiatus. Doing 10 shows in 2 years kind of wore me out. But I'm also a single full-time dad on top of everything. So I kind of decided I wanted to take a small little break from acting right now, because what I'm really trying to do is I am trying to direct my first full-length play. I've done a couple little I've directed a couple little one acts for some shows that was like a compilation of one acts.
How about doing some TV and film, man, as opposed to just
I want to. I really do want to. As I said, I was actually really bummed. I had hopes that I was going to have my first video reel made, but that unfortunately fell through a little while ago. So I'm currently trying to get a videographer to take some of my footage from.
Oh, I can send you someone. She's doing my director's reel right now, and she's an awesome person, man.
That'd be great. But I do want to.
I'll suggest her when we get done.
Okay.
Also, probably going to edit the short too, but she's editing my director's reel right now. But and she's looking for more work. So.
Yeah, that'd be great. But I do want to get the video reel in so I can start submitting to some agents and everything like that. Because I do really want to break into film. I really wanted to. I've had a full length.
Like everything else in your life, you just go and make happen. And TV and film is no different. If you want to be in TV and film, you're in LA, aren't you? I mean, that's.
Yeah, I'm close to LA. Yeah.
You backstage.
I am a part of
casting. Tons of them that you can immediately get on and start submitting to roles.
Yeah, I have. I am part of backstage, and I am also a part of face to face. Mostly all just background acting right now. And that's kind of where I'm. That's kind of what I do.
That's what I did for a living for 8 years in LA. I was a background actor, union, and then a stand-in on shows. did that for a living while I shot my films.
Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with any of that. All that stuff is just skill. I'd rather have someone that's been a background actor that I know has been on sets and listening to terminology and seeing how things work.
Yeah.
I don't think you sometimes miss a lot of that if you're actually a principal and you're like a or something like that.
Oh yeah.
A lot of the intricacies happen
Definitely
on a set. You know what I mean? Where background's literally there when lighting's being set up, when cameras still being figured out on dollies.
And that's actually kind of cool because actually how I make my, how I make my money, how I pay my bills mostly, as much as I love acting and everything like that. I mean, unfortunately, I don't get full-time acting gigs, but what I actually do is I am a lighting technician for a lot of local theaters. I work for a couple production companies setting up concerts and stuff like that. So I've always been fascinated with all aspects. And I learned a long time ago when I first knew that I wanted to either work in the theater industry and film industry, I said, I was like, as much as I wanted to act, I knew that I was like, if I was going to make it anywhere, if I was going to make any connections or anything, I was like, I needed to make myself as useful as possible. So I started learning how to,
great. Dude, there are 1,000 roads to Damascus, man. And that sounds like a fucking great one, man. That sounds like a great road for you, man. I mean, there's a lot of, everyone has their own little look and how they want to get there, but that seems like a great route for you, man, because you are.
That's kind of why I really want to get into some directing too. That's really why I want to get into directing, because I'm like, I was like, I've got a lot of experience in doing, lighting, some audio work.
Oh man, just remember the main things. Your camera goes up and down. I'll tell you the main things that filmmakers always forget. Verticality. Their camera can go up and down. Don't stay on the same plane as your subject. And lighting. Almost not all, but a lot of beginning filmmakers totally don't even pay attention to their lighting.
Oh yeah.
Lighting is your emotion, your mood. You should from theater. It's your emotion, your mood, and all that stuff. Without a nuanced approach to that, you're going to hurt the film. And then don't center frame. It rarely looks good unless you're doing something specific. Center frame or mugshot usually most people look better at an angle. And then mugshot. Very few people, they call it mugshot because very few people look good straight looking at the camera unless you're doing it for a specific reason. And then so you work in thirds, thirds of the screen. Keep your subject right or left on camera and use some good texture in the background to create the rest of that image, man. It's more powerful than putting them in the middle with space on either side.
Exactly.
But anyway, that's the film 101 I always give, man, whenever I talk to young filmmakers. That's very beautiful, you guys. We're going to take a little 5-minute break. I'm going to touch up a little bit more on the ending of kind of their overall dream about what they're going to do or what they are doing. We'll do a little capsule when we get back.
Okay.
What we were just talking about for fans that are just going to join us. And then the first question also I ask everyone when we get back, what's the best movie you've seen in the last 2 years and why? Okay, so I'll hit you we'll do that little outline on what we talked about and finish up any little touches, and then we'll do that question, and then we'll go on into the round table. But, come here. We're going to take a 5-minute break, though. It's been an awesome time, nonstop energy and interest with amazing guests. Mark is still suffering from his quintuple flip attack lightsaber on enemies. His back got hurt doing such activities, so he'll be resting. But come up with a question, Mark. But we're going to give time for our guests to go do their 5 minutes, get a drink or the restroom, for me to walk Lola, and then we'll come back with all that stuff. You guys, you've been watching StormCrow, Dreamers Talking to Dreamers, Always Dream. We'll see you in 5. Lola, say, see you in 5. All right. Okay, we'll see you guys in 5 minutes.
All right.
He's in the middle of a show. What did you do? You dropped it, didn't you?
Broke it where?
I already had one broken off.
No,
But it has one already missing, doesn't it?
Oh, if you get the money, you send it.
What did you do?
Mark, I was telling.
I gotta get back.
Wait there a sec.
But okay, are we ready, Mark?
I just broke part of my lightsaber.
Dude, I just said your back was hurt and you practiced your lightsaber, man. The lightsaber's part of the show, Mark. You're not allowed to break it.
At least you didn't break another light.
Yeah, that's Alex. He was banned from lightsaber in the house because of his antics.
Oh,
Yes, there it is. Now Alex, get it out of his hands before he hurts someone.
that is broken. Yep.
How did you just break it, man? You just
We were talking about stunts, so I went outside during the 5 minutes.
Tell because you're not allowed to be in the house anymore.
So yeah, I broke my lightsaber.
Okay, are we back on? You should have had this conversation when we were on live again.
Darn it.
That's okay.
Hey, you guys, are we back on?
Yeah.
Okay, you guys, we had, and I don't mean this in any kind of phallic way, but Mark Potter had a problem with his lightsaber.
Oh my god.
Now, his significant other thinks it might have to do with his long hair. I had to do with, I think, him being outside and playing with a bad back and trying to do his spinning reel of death. And he broke his lightsaber. It's a very sad moment in history. Here we go. Oh, my lordy. Okay, you guys, so let's do it a little short version. Amanda has a feature film that they did that's kind of a Philip Dick mixed with Blade Runner mixed with Star Wars feature film, and then now they're doing a thematic series TV based on that feature film, and she's working on that now. And then she's also going to be doing another series in the near future where she's only acting. She does kind of she's an executive producer, line producer on the film and series, and then she's acting in the other one. I think she has roles in those as well. But does that cover what we went over, man?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then, say the series again, the name. The name of the show or the film in the series?
Yeah, so the feature is Replicant Terminus, and the series is Replicant Terminus Revelation.
And I'm sure Mark is right now writing that in there. But anyway, very, very, very cool. Okay, now Mason done theater for a long time. He's directed a couple one-man shows. He wants to pretty soon direct a longer version play. He also does a lot of stunts. He's taught boxing, taught MMA, and done a lot of stunts from the Halloween show down to the Queen Mary, doing knee skidding and sparks and all that stuff, to stunts and films. And in the future, he plans on, as I mentioned, directing his own full-length play, and then doing more acting and stunts in films and TV. Did I get all that, Mason?
Definitely.
Okay. So let's go on to the next part. We'll start with Mason this time. What is the best film you've seen in the last 2 years, and why?
Oh gosh, see, I was actually dreading this whole thing. Like I was freaking out the whole 5 minutes that we were on break because I'm a giant cinephile. God, like so, I'm trying to think of like some of the best ones. I will say the most two recent movies that I actually finally got around to watching. The two newer movies that I came out, they're Netflix originals. One of them is actually a documentary, which I found very interesting. But I guess the full feature movie that I actually just recently saw was The Highwaymen with Kevin Costner and Woody Harrelson. And
Well, I don't know. I don't think I watched that. Oh, that's the Catching of Bonnie and Clyde.
Catching of Bonnie and Clyde, yes.
I didn't know that was out. I'll have to check it out. Yeah, I was interested in seeing that, and I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it was really good. That one was very, very
I just
good.
love both those guys. I love those actors.
I'm a big Kevin Costner and big Woody Harrelson fan. And to be perfectly honest, as I said, being in theater, obviously I also know a lot of musical theater, and Bonnie and Clyde was introduced to me by a good friend of mine a while back. He was a big fan of she was actually in a production of the Bonnie and Clyde musical. And I don't know, like, so Bonnie and Clyde has always been just kind of a very infamous story. And the musical really, in my opinion, really sheds a very light on them. Like you want them.
Yeah, I can't understand Bonnie and Clyde as a musical, man.
It's
They're
actually
robbing people in.
it's a strange concept, but it's actually
It's not like a Gene Kelly moment of like dancing in the rain. I mean, like,
it is actually really good. But as I said, like, it's funny because like the play and like a lot of theater people know Bonnie and Clyde, and it's a fun little musical. But I liked The Highwaymen because it kind of puts the real nitty gritty on like who they really were.
But it's kind of like the original Grimm tales that are like all macabre, and yet if you told people that, and Disney versions of it, a lot of Disney stories are based on Grimm tales, which are like totally rated R, very dark, very heavy, and Disney like strung out these really PG or G-rated stories at them, like Cinderella and stuff like that. So it kind of reminds me of that, like if you're except reverse. Yeah, I mean not.
And it's also kind of one of those things because like especially if you follow history and you know the story, the story. I mean, you know what's coming, but like it's told from the perspective of these two.
They would tell it from Bonnie and Clyde's perspective of this like they're almost heroes and they're in love, and the bad coppers are chasing them down. They're effing robbing people. Do you know many really nice people that go, "Hey, I'm a nice guy, but I'm going to go rob people"?
Exactly, and kill people.
Like literally, like dude, like that's criminality. That's criminal behavior. There's no like no one decides I'm going to go rob banks because they're a nice person. You know what I mean?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So I hear you. So yeah, it should be interesting to watch. Now, Amanda, what would you say is the best film you've seen in the last couple of years?
Oh man, there was one, I can't remember the name of it. I think it was like Adrift. I think That was the name. How's the woman that was in the okay, never mind. Anyway, it's about two people that fall in love and they go on a boating experience and hit rough water, and he dies, but it goes through. I love filmmaking when you have a simple concept of two people like on a boat or something, but you tell a story leading up to the event, and then you backstory what happened before that. I love that kind of storytelling because, yeah, here's a sad event, and then here's what happened before that, and it's kind of up to the viewer to decide while this is happening, is he alive still or not? And so I love that creative storytelling aspect. It was a beautiful story of how he got her to survive, and it's based on a true story, to survive many weeks on the open water before she was eventually rescued. So
Kind of
I
like
really-
Bird Box.
Huh?
Is it kind of like Bird Box?
I loved that movie.
No, I mean it's a love story, but it's a tragedy too, because I mean the happy story is that she survives, but there's a lot of tragedy along the way. So yeah.
Very cool. But sometimes like we talked about in the very beginning, people are telling stories reflective of real life. So you're gonna have dark stories, heavy stories, intense stories. Stories you're gonna have, unless it's done by Disney, are gonna have some kind of trouble or travail or battle or conflict they have to go through. So yeah, I mean, dark by itself doesn't. If it's done well and it's written well and it's acted well and it's those things, then Now sometimes thematically, I'm just not interested. Like Breaking Bad was a brilliant TV show as far as writing, shot, actors, all that stuff. I just had zero interest in the world of people smoking crack.
Oh my God! I'm
like literally, I couldn't watch the series because I don't give a crap or want to watch a show predominantly revolves around smoking crack. Thematically, that wasn't interesting to me. I couldn't get into caring about any of these people. You know what I mean?
I'm actually so glad that you said that, because that is exactly what I tell people when I tell them I wasn't really into Breaking Bad, and I get that all the time. They're like, What's wrong with you?
I agree. I mean, I watched probably like 6, 7 episodes of all of it, and it was well written. It was well acted. It was well shot. It was skill behind it, but thematically was not my thing, man. You know what I mean? I couldn't get into it. So it's like there's certain actors out there that are really talented, but I'm just not a fan of their style. You know what I mean? But you can still give them that they're skilled. Like Jodie Foster's really skilled. For some reason with me, I didn't like watching her on screen. Other people loved watching her on screen. And I wouldn't take away her skill. She was very skilled. You know what I mean? But it just, her style wasn't really my thing, So it's,
I don't know. I always felt Jodie Foster actually was pretty diverse. Like her character in Silence of the Lambs compared to, the accused was a pretty.
She was just a little too masculine for me, man. I couldn't like. You can still have strength. Like Angelina Jolie will have like be a badass, but she's still very feminine.
Mm-hmm.
And Jodie Foster, Jamie Curtis, I always had issues with them because they were very, very, very masculine. They were both very good at what they did and very cool, and a lot of people love them. Just for me, I wasn't really, I don't know. I don't know. Couldn't do it. But, everyone has that. Everyone has that one actor that's a good actor that you just don't particularly like their style. I love Jack Black, but a lot of people don't like Black on screen. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just, man.
Yeah. I think all. The truth is that I think all actors just have their strong points, and not even necessarily their strong points, but in some ways they've always been typecasted. Like, for example, I think Jonah Hill is actually a phenomenal actor, but he, most of the time he's kind of put in the, the raunch coms, and he plays like the very raunchy funny guy. But I mean, when you see him in Moneyball, and then you see him in Wolf of Wall Street, like you see that he's got really good acting abilities. But for some reason, he gets a lot more credibility in the raunch-com, the raunchy comedy.
Well, that's also what you say yes to, man. I mean, really, in reality, way back when, like you're talking Pacino and Hoffman, Meryl Streep, and then actors of that time period, when they first made it for a good decade or longer, they would rarely put it out. They would be very, very selective in what movie they chose to do. You know what I mean? Like they were, it wasn't until they got older and they needed money or whatever, but they were spending their money wisely on the films they did do. But literally, Pacino was doing great film after great film after great film. Same thing with Meryl Streep. Same thing with all that little crowd. Like that was all they would do, was be brilliant films. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they would only come out with a film like every 2 years or something like that. And nowadays, everyone spends their money effing so quickly when they make it that they're just saying yes to whatever film rolls down their freeway. And it's not a good. I don't think it's long-term good for them.
And then there's Clint Eastwood, who releases a movie every like 6 to 7 years, and it's always awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
People
but I
don't
worked
realize
on
how long
4
it
of
takes to make a good
Eastwood's
film.
Yeah.
I worked on 4 of Eastwood's films, and that guy is the best guy you could ever work for. He is so adamant about respect all the way down the road. He is like, he will fire people if he hears AD talking disrespectfully to a background. You know what I mean? Like he believes in value. Everybody has value. Everybody deserves respect.
That's great, actually. That's quite amazing. Which is one of the reasons I don't know if you guys have seen The Mule. I mean, I loved The Mule. That was another one in the
I
past.
haven't watched it yet. No.
Yeah.
That was another one that I loved because it was also like, obviously it's Clint Eastwood, but that was a Clint Eastwood that we haven't really seen in my personal opinion, or at least not to that degree. Like,
Grant, he's not a good example because I love Eastwood, but he was never the best actor, brother. He was very charismatic. He had a niche, and he was like Burt Reynolds. He just burned that to the ground, man. He just kept coming again and again, dude.
Very true.
Burt Reynolds, between Smoking and the Bandit and then the race car one, which is really the same genre.
Cannonball.
Huh? Cannonball, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, basically, that's the same.
Let's be honest. The thing that made Cannonball Run so great was just that entire cast. I mean, that was a brilliant cast. Dom DeLuise, Roger Moore, Jamie Farr. I mean, you couldn't go wrong.
Eastwood did the same thing. After he did the Leone films, he went on and directed his own and starred in like another 6, 7 westerns. And then he was even more intelligent. Then he went, okay, the westerns are kind of drying up. Then he came up with Dirty Harry.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then that carried him the rest of his career and decided to just mainly be a director.
The Clint Eastwood movies that I grew up,
all of even his CIA type stuff was all Dirty Harry style,
I loved honestly, like I always liked his action movies, but I mean the movies that I grew up with Clint Eastwood mostly, I mean other than obviously the classics Unforgiven and The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, but the ones that I grew up with watching when I was a little kid was the Any Which Way But Loose and Any Which Way You Can.
Thing.
Yeah.
Thing, but that's the same kind of, still that same kind of vibe.
He still played the rough,
you have him in a cowboy outfit, you have him in a cop outfit, and then you have him in a trucker outfit. You know what I mean? But it's pretty much like Eastwood being a badass in all 3 of them, man.
Yeah.
I remember the orangutan, dude. Left Turn Clyde.
Exactly. I was always in it more for the Black Widows because I thought they made the movies.
I gotta watch that again soon. Hey, if you're out there, our fans out there, join me in going and watching Clint Eastwood, at least one of the Clint Eastwood orangutan.
Any Which Way You Can or Any Which Way But Loose.
Yeah, Any Which Way You Can. Join me in watching that, and we can all together go Left Turn Clyde. telling you, man. I remember that in the middle of the movies, and he would always just like give a look and go like that. The orangutan. I don't know where they got that orangutan, but that orangutan deserved an Oscar, man. I'm telling you, man. The facial expressions that like orangutan gave, like Clint Eastwood, and the way they shot it and cut it and edited it. Oh my lordy, man! I've never seen an animal have so much like dialogue, man, and like characters without being a voiceover anime. But very, very, very cool. All right, so we're gonna get on to this, you guys. We're gonna get on to the big thing. Hey, spoiler alert! Game of if you haven't watched Game of Thrones, you don't want spoiler alert, then stop watching. Anyway, me personally. Point was several things. You spent 6-7 seasons building up the enemy, the Night King, and then you kill him off in one episode.
Well, that's
I'll
what they
agree
did.
on that one.
Secondly, wait, let me finish, and then you guys can go to town on what you think. Secondly, you set up Daenerys as a hero. She's gone through rape. She's gone through this abuse. She's gone through all these things and fought against slavery and all these beautiful heroic. And then you turn her into an insane, murdering villain. I don't quite understand that for the simple fact is every other female in this show besides her and Anaris or the Arya, but every queen remain the head of nation woman in the entire series has been conniving, this duplicitous, like crazy, all that stuff, except Daenerys. And then you take Daenerys and you turn her into a crazy, murderous, whatever. So you're kind of just saying through this entire film that there can't be actually just a straight up benevolent female ruler that does the right thing. Just all be crazy and conniving and
I mean, I feel like that when you are following her, you understand that she's going through this journey. She's going through these trials and changes, and things are happening to her. And then she rises over it, and she finds her power in her voice, and then she puts that out there as a leader, and she learns and she adapts. But the whole time you're wondering, will she be like her father? Her brother was, and you wonder that the whole time. And at the very end, you know, you have that moment where you're hanging on a cliff where she's on her dragon, and you're like, is she going to burn down the whole city? And I kind of feel like you have to understand where she's coming from. These people,
I do. I get
people, and you need to wipe them all out and start over.
Yeah, and all treachery and all that kind of stuff.
You know, I actually have a very interesting. I have kind of a very interesting. I have an interesting outlook on it. I don't necessarily know how credible it is, but I feel in some ways. I mean, obviously, if we look back to season 2, you know, that was a big foreshadow of back in season 2 where she was in the House of the Undying and she saw the throne, the one that she wanted, and it was just like that. It was covered in ash. Everything was dark. But a little theory that I kind of had was basically in season 8, she lost, or even in the end of season 7, she finally made it all the way over to she made it to Westeros. And to be perfectly honest, she did not have a lot of troubles on the other side of the Narrow Sea. You think, yeah, okay, she lost Drogon, she lost her son, but what real big challenges did she have? And she grew to power very, very quickly. And most
of the rebellion where they tried to assassinate her, all the guys with masks and
but at the same time, like she grew so much power so quick, and even the slavers didn't really stand a chance when all of her armies and her dragons were together. She annihilated.
They're all separate, man. They're all like fighting amongst each other.
Yeah, and then she comes to Westeros, where she really never has played the Game of Thrones before. The big thing, when Tyrion tells her before they cross the Narrow Sea, you're in the Great Game now, and the Great Game is terrifying. she'd never really gone up against somebody like Cersei before. And Cersei, as much as we hated her, she was the one that freaking played the Game of Thrones, man. There was no player like her. And I really don't think that it was a matter of leading up to her becoming a villain. In some ways, yes. I mean, she obviously had a big temper in a lot of the episodes, and she has shown over and over again, you cross her, you will die, or that she will kill you. But I think it was really more in that moment on the episode of the Bells. I really feel it was definitely a snap. I definitely feel like she had it, but she had also seen so much that she lost and how much she really wasn't in control, and personally felt that the only way that she was going to be able, to lead her better world was to take control. Was it necessarily justifiable to kill thousands of innocent people? Obviously not, but I think it was more of a snap in a moment of panic that kind of led her to go a little crazy.
Yeah, but then that panic just kept going, dude, because when the dwarf called her on her maniacal behavior, she just kept going with the crazy and like, oh, I got to break the wheel. We'll just slaughter children all over the world until people do what I want.
I feel like it's a testament to humanity, though, because I think a lot of humans inherently believe that they are good people. And I think she is a good example of that, where her circumstances and everything just constantly put that pressure on her, and she snapped. And that was it. She'd had enough. And, her ideals and views of how she wanted to conquer the world had changed, because she's like, I tried to give mercy. I tried to do all these things. And then at the same time, when you're corrupted by all this power and you have all this opportunity and you have this control, it's almost like this.
Well, she did lose two of her dragons.
No.
Which are like her children.
So.
And she lost two of her dragons, which are like her children.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, she also saw, her best friend get decapitated right in front of her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Jon Snow get all the accolades while she was doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And then, of course, but, as much as...
And he saved the day. And she's like, wait.
And,
like, my dragons, and I'm the one who's riding the bigger one that was doing the...
But it's not also that. But then it was also the fact that the truth is other than Grey Worm, all of her advisors, started to kind of see where she was going wrong. And other than Grey Worm, who wasn't really an advisor, but I mean, was her soldier, was the only one really loyal to her. Tyrion, obviously,
Grey Worm had to do with that was his lover they decapitated.
Yeah, that too. That too.
Grey Worm was like, "Oh, you're gonna slaughter all these people that decapitated my woman? Okay, I'm on your side."
Yeah, that too.
You know what I mean? He didn't care about I don't know if in that moment it was about loyalty more than she was his best vehicle for vengeance.
Yeah. And not only that, but then also with Tyrion, everyone is pretty much on Tyrion's side of like, yeah, are you really going to not try and help your family when you know that they're going to die? But Daenerys probably didn't look at it that way, because let's see, the only real family she had was in season 1, and she let him die. Like,
well, yeah, because her brother sold her to be raped.
Well, yeah, of course, he was a horrible person, but I don't think Daenerys really has a concept of a real family.
Yeah, but and then Tyrion, I think if it was just Cersei, I think he might have like just didn't care about her dying, but
no, he didn't. But I think Jaime,
like, it had protected him all of his life, man.
Yeah. So I think it was a massive amount of things, it was the fact of, playing the game, seeing, mercy being used against her, all of her advisors, basically turning against her, the loss of her friend, the loss of her children. I think that would have been cause for anybody to
Well, I did like how they like the hand just needs to quit trying to dictate military, because he fails almost every time, bro. Every time Tyrion throws like a military idea, the next episode they're getting their asses kicked in because it was like a horrible strategy, and like his brother outthought him, and like the only thing that saved him in that real early season was the Blackwater or whatever, the alchemy.
The wildfire, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like literally.
Well, I mean, he did a pretty good job on that one, but I mean, like we really, other than that battle, and maybe even the dictatorship with the slavers, which he actually did pretty good with, in my opinion. When he moved, like when he came back, you know, I think he was always a bit hesitant in terms of I'm now fighting against my family. That would probably cause hesitation in anybody. I mean, in season 7,
for a bunch of spinoffs, Arya goes to some place west that no one's ever been. That sounds like a spinoff because she's one of the most popular characters they have.
Although HBO did just confirm that they are not going to do a spinoff for Arya. They just confirmed that one, like just about like the other.
They just confirmed it to get a million people writing in saying we want a spinoff of Arya, and then they'll go right.
Well, you know, but, I can't really look at that. I can't really look at that very seriously because that's like, you know, the same with after episode 8, you know, went on, or you know, after the last episode, well, we had like 1.5 million people sign a petition to completely redo.
That was just done. Rewrite it. And then they had the Daenerys gets taken by the dragon into wherever, and I can see her coming back as like this zombie queen with like king to the 5th degree.
That was a theory.
Army of like dead.
That was a theory. I remember like about a year or so ago, before this show, you know, before this season ever came out, was a theory that Daenerys was going to become the next night, or the night she was going to become the Night Queen. That was it was an interesting concept, but
well, they kind of set it up, dude, with the dragon picks her up and flies off into the distance, and you already had Jon Snow already like come back to life, so it's obviously can happen in this world.
Yeah. And in terms of the Night King, I'll admit I felt that one was really rushed. I mean, the episode was phenomenal. It was a great, very well shot, great battle. I mean, God, the cast and crew, what they had to go through just to film that episode was all like I can barely imagine. That's unbearable. Okay. 55 nights.
So, guys, enough on the Game of Thrones. Let's Mark, what's your question?
Well, I was gonna add to that. Before I get to my question, is that they in Star Wars: The Force Awakens, yes, it has to do with Star Wars.
I'm okay with this.
They brought up Snoke to be something powerful, and then they kill him. They kill him in The Last Jedi.
Yep.
How can you bring up somebody who's supposed to be this force to be reckoned with, and you just kill him off easily?
I agree.
That's one thing that I haven't seen the Game of Thrones, but when you said that, I don't know what they're trying to get at nowadays, but they're trying to push something that I don't like. It doesn't make sense to me.
I agree in that sense. It almost in all honesty, it does feel like someone has a really cool idea and then all of a sudden quickly changes their mind, and it's just kind of like. But that was I personally liked The Last Jedi. I'm a big Star Wars fan. I'm not a big fan of the prequels for many reasons, but I actually liked The Force Awakens, and I liked. I personally am one of the few that liked The Last Jedi. Did I think it had its plot holes? Definitely. But that was definitely one of them. I felt the same way. They made Snoke out to be this bad mofo, and then it's just, oh, okay, I guess he's dead.
Hey, Amanda, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say I blame commitment issues.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm sorry, you guys. The original Star Wars trilogy, none of the films since then, to me, have come close to.
Oh well, no, definitely not.
Gravitas that those films had. Those films had, besides maybe parts of Return of the Jedi, the first two films specifically were actually read more towards young adults, and they were had a lot more gravitas, a lot more interesting story, a lot more. And then since then, it's just like they're regurgitating it over and over again.
Well,
Death Stars are there. How many times are you going to have a Death Star? Like, holy hell, dude. They blew that up in the first series. Come up with something new, man. Is it like a factory? Just every time one dies, they spit out another one?
Pretty much. But actually, in all honesty, that was kind of why I liked The Last Jedi a little bit. I thought one of the very interesting things, even though some people really didn't, was that they kind of touched base on, while they were on this, kind of what I like to call it, the Las Vegas planet, was, where we kind of saw all these characters, they start talking a little bit about, like, who the hell do you think funds these wars? Who are the people that profit off of these wars? And so they kind of touched on, some of these weapon manufacturers and these slavers, or, these weapon smugglers and stuff like that. So it was something that was a new concept in a Star Wars film that hadn't really been made. And a lot of the classic sci-fi movies, nobody really thinks of it. We have, we have the bad guys, and they're bad guys, and that's why. But, I thought it was kind of interesting to take Star Wars and kind of give us a little bit of like, these are the people that make your TIE fighters. These are the people that make your X-Wings. These are the people that are profiting off of all this war, which is kind of, it's a concept that hadn't been brought up before. So that was one of the things I found very interesting.
I just feel like basically they've just been soft reboots, man, and this has been like a soft reboot as opposed to what I wanted, which was a continuing story. You know what I mean?
And I know I said it once before a long time ago when Disney first bought Star Wars. Me and my friends said, Disney is going to make it so that at one point, the people that love Star Wars, who are going to be alive for all these new Star Wars movies, they're going to end up getting tired of Star Wars. And you know what? That could definitely be true. I don't necessarily know how Rise of Skywalker is going to be. I'm hoping they really concludes it.
Keeps making innovation. Like they keep trying to, like with all their TV series and stuff like that, they try to come at it from a new angle and tell a different story. Star Wars has just been kind of repetitive, man. I mean, you got the trilogy.
And you know what? I'm kind of hoping that after the Rise of Skywalker, I know they've got a whole bunch more Star Wars movies in process that they want to make, but I guess that this is going to be the last story of the Skywalker. So I'm hoping that if it's not too bad and I keep watching Star Wars, maybe they will stop getting repetitive and actually create something a little bit more new and whole new characters, whole new storyline.
So I mean, for some reason he went from like the assistant of Spielberg to like like giant director just being handed giant dollar projects, and then all of a sudden he thought that made him a brilliant writer and a brilliant this and a brilliant that, and it didn't do any of those things. So I just think he's like a little overpower mad kind of thing, man. And I worked on a film with his background. He just didn't come across as very likable guy, man.
All right, so
but such is life. I remember when we were on what was it, that 8 track or 8 something, what do you do, the one with the monster in the film, 8mm, there you go. I remember we were in the canyons in North LA, man, and it's like 40 degrees, shooting at night. We're wearing these 1960s military outfits that were thin as all get out. They were not warm at all. And they had there was 130 background. They had 2 heaters for 130 background. You look over at Video Village, which is maybe 6 people, 7 people. There was literally 6, 7 heaters surrounding the 6 people, man. I was like, oh my God, dude. Are you insane, dude. It was
But
funny.
to go to my question,
Yeah, go ahead.
If you could do, if there was something else that you could do, if you've never gone down this path, or if one day you just decide that you know that this no longer makes you happy, what would you do? And let's start with Amanda.
Um, you know, that's a really good question because I don't really have that kind of plan B. I mean, I just want to be creating content, you know, just making stuff, acting or producing or whatever role that I can do. I love traveling. I love horses. I did want to pursue a career in horses with youth and like doing like rehabilitation for either veterans or traumatized youth with horses. I love that, but that's a great volunteer thing. That's a great side project. Like I really love being in the industry and it's a passion of mine. And, you know, I don't like dealing with certain people. I think just are in it for the wrong reasons. And the ones that are there for the right reasons, those are people that make this industry so much better. And so I love working and creating things, telling good stories. I truly believe that film is the truest form of journalism. So yeah, I mean, I really don't have an answer for that. I don't really know what else I want to do. So.
How about you, Mason?
I'm definitely in the same boat. Like I had plan Bs and everything, but it's kind of funny that even as I said, like I started learning all aspects of this, of this industry because I knew I didn't really want a plan B. I knew that this was the industry that I wanted to work in. But
that's a good route. It's a good route to be so versatile in skill sets that you can always find a position somewhere.
Yeah. But if I really had to say that if there was something that I really could have, or I guess another dream of mine, also kind of funny because it kind of goes back to like movies. One of my favorite genre movies is I love murder mystery movies. I love catching the serial killer movies. Love it. Silence of the Lambs, Red Dragon, The Bone Collector. Big, and I was and one of my favorite subjects in school that was actually like a real subject was psychology.
Wow.
For some reason, I get a lot of people that look at me weird because I'm fascinated with criminal psychology. But that's also because probably the material that I write very kind of Stephen King, Quentin Tarantino wannabe. I love creating characters. So psychology has always been something that fascinated me. Another example was actually another great movie that came out on Netflix was the extremely vile the Ted Bundy movie with Zac Efron, which was also amazing, by the way. If you haven't watched it, definitely check that one out because I believe Zac Efron deserves an Oscar for that one for sure. But so if I had to say something, it would still probably be in the terms of psychology and creating, either creating or going into any kind of detective stuff. But truth be told, my family used to tell me that I'd make a great lawyer, but I was never great in school all that much, and I don't think I could take a lot of.
To be honest, my only plan B was to be a big toe massage therapist, but like a massage therapist, but only big toes. Like that's all I do. Specialty niche. Need your big toe massage? Come on in.
I also do have a passion. I also do have a passion for bartending. Actually, for example, the last 4 episodes of Game of Thrones for my viewing party, I always made like special Game of Thrones themed drinks. Like we did the Giant's Milk. I love Tipsy Bartender. I follow him on Instagram and Facebook, and he had a recipe for drinks called Giant's Milk, which was this giant alcoholic version of the Giant's Milk from Game of Thrones. So I made that. For the very last episode, I made this special drink from from dragon fruit, and it was called the Mad Queen. So I mean, like, I'm also really into bartending, but I bartended for a little bit over at Honda Center, but over with where the Ducks play. But I don't like working with customers all that much either. It's
You
true.
want to bartend, but only for buddies and friends and so on.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty
that's
much.
fun.
Private
All
party.
right, you guys. So we're gonna wrap it up right now. What I want to do is I want each of you to look in the camera, and we'll start with Amanda, and then we'll go to Mason. Actually, we'll reverse that. We'll start with Mason, and we'll go to Amanda, and give a child, say a 12-year-old that has your same aspirations, give them advice. Okay. So,
Okay.
Mason, we'll start with you. What advice would you give a 12-year-old who has aspirations doing the same stuff you want to do?
All right. I guess what I would say to somebody is, do not compare your success to anyone else's. Everyone is going to reach their goal at the speed that they are meant to. You are going to and it's all about overcoming the obstacles to get to your challenge. Do not give up, and definitely do not compare anyone else's success or how quickly they achieve success or how quickly or how slow you are, because you're as long as you've got the drive, you are going to get to the place that you want to go.
That's very beautiful advice, man. Yeah, do not compare. If there was less envy especially if we're talking the film industry, there's less envy and more support. I think the people would find a lot more opportunities.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right, Amanda, now you.
Well, I would say to my 12-year-old self to speak up, because I was very shy and quiet, and I didn't believe, I had a lot to offer the world. And I was very observant, and I watched and I listened and I paid attention and I learned. But I didn't know how to find my voice. And once I did, things started happening. Things started coming into place. People started coming into my life that were the right people. Opportunities came. And so,
yeah, let me be the first to say you do have a voice, Amanda. It's a brilliant voice. It's a great voice, full of passion and articulate and intelligent. But anyway, go ahead.
Thank you. That's very sweet. But yeah, I would say that, I've been learning on how to be a leader. I've been learning how to be an example for an actress or a producer, how to be the difference this industry needs because of all the evil things and wicked things that have been happening. We need a change and a reform to how we make film, and the people that we work with need to have integrity and trustworthiness. And so I guess I would tell myself that, just step forward with confidence and step forward. And it doesn't matter if I fall or if I trip, that it's going to be okay. And that just keep going because of those core values that I hold dear.
Yeah, you learn more out of failure anyway. So
What?
you learn more with failure than you do with success. So, I mean, most success comes off of numerous failures where you didn't give up and you learned a lot. Yeah.
Exactly.
So
and I'm the hardest person on myself when I've messed something up. I am the hardest person on myself, because not that I need perfection, but because I knew better, because I should have known better. I should have, I should have known that kind of thing, that concept of, but when I do mess up, I learn so much, and I learn what not to do or who not to associate with, or what kind of person I want to be and what example I want to set for this
Lola.
industry. So it's important to me that not only am I a part of telling a good story, but that I'm also setting an example of being a good filmmaker, or just a good example of integrity in the industry where it's lacking. So
no, blessings to that. And yeah, I mean, if you're gonna you have a long road to success, you want to treat people right, give equitability, respectability to people. So yeah, I agree with you. Well, you guys, it's been an amazing night. 21 episodes. Amazing guests with Amanda and Mason. Of course, Mark Potter, who this will be a landmark day. He broke his lightsaber, and that was kind of
I
phallic
broke a piece off of my
section
lightsaber.
on anything. You literally his lightsaber. He broke it. But it's been an amazing night. A lot of conversation. And hopefully you as fans find it interesting. If you want to get involved, either of these artists, you know, this will be up and recorded and permanent. So I thank Amanda. I thank Mason. It's been a very amazing, amazing evening. Big thanks to Mark Potter. Healings to him and his lightsaber. And then this is Lola. You guys have been watching StormCrow, Dreamers, talking to dreamers. Keep dreaming. See you.